Crafting Fitness. Recording the old Tuesday workout. Tuesday is my favorite day of the workout week because it's chest day. It used to be the only day that I did the landmine crossbody press. Now I do that twice. It's just such a good exercise. But it's like a very hypertrophy focused chest day. And chest work is really satisfying. Hypertrophy work where you'll see that I do box assisted dips rather than full body weight dips because I want to stay in the working state longer. Like I don't want to get 2 reps and fail. I want to get 5 reps and fail and be able to stay in that failing state a bit safer and a bit longer and yada yada yada. So it's a really satisfying day that I really enjoy. And it's also the day that the Free With Ads podcast comes out. And I love the Free With Ads podcast. And a million good YouTube videos come out on Tuesdays. Tuesday is an awesome day, everybody. Anyway, this exercise I'm deeply bored of talking about. The sword draw raise. Technically a type of lateral raise. It's a shoulder exercise. Trying to get shoulder hypertrophy is really tough. It's hard to isolate the muscles. It's hard to have a stretch under load. Problem with conventional lateral raises, when your arms are at your side, there is no resistance. So the most important part of the exercise, you are at 0 tension. And so the reason that I do these across the body as well is to enhance that amount of stretch. So there's a big stretch on my shoulder where I don't let the weight rest on the ground, and there's just as much stretch as possible on my shoulder. And then there's a constant tension because no matter what, I'm resisting gravity the same amount throughout the entire range of motion because of the cable. As always, putting your free hand on the muscle that you're working is a good thing. It enhances mind-muscle connection. It helps you visualize the muscle stretching and contracting, which all have measurable benefits. It's not just about moving your arm. It's about the effect that the muscle is receiving. Also, for anyone who saw these in the order they were filmed, fresh shave and a haircut, I look like a lot less of a fucking crazy person. Nothing will get you off your ass and get you to the barber like seeing yourself on video. moment of confusion as to how many sets I have left, and then I get in and finish. Then we're going to get pullovers. I have a thing to say. Sorry, wrist overs. So again, if you watch the other videos, this is a familiar exercise. It's a wrist over. But on a push day, I do let my elbow move through space, and I have my hand on my shoulder, so that I can really feel the front delt work of it all, and I'm not just trying to isolate the bicep brachialis. So on a pull day, my elbow doesn't move through space, my shoulder doesn't change its level of tension, I'm just rotating the forearm and just feeling my bicep brachialis move. On a push day, this is a shoulder exercise, and if you were really eagle-eyed, you'd be able to detect that it's much easier when you let your elbow move, as if you were like dumping out a pitcher of water. I'm holding way further down the bar and not moving up the bar. That's how you can cheat this exercise. If you are doing this for brachialis hypertrophy and your elbow is moving through space, you are fucking it up. It's still getting some movement because your forearm is still rotating, but not much. This is a shoulder exercise if your elbow is moving through space. And tomorrow is the last day that I have to film, and then this project will be complete. I can just wait like a year to do it again. An exercise that does, like so many, look deceptively easy, but it is very, very hard. You can do this with just like any kind of long, straight object. Try rotating at the forearm and see how and where you perceive the difficulty. I know in like the last sets at some point I do like cheat with my hips as well. If you teach a client to do this, you have to police them so strongly because there are so many cheats you will instinctively do because your body has no desire to isolate your bicep brachialis for hypertrophy training. If your brain says move this bar through space, you will use your whole body to do that. And then you will get no benefit out of it. If you can freeze your body and just move your arm, then you can get some isolated benefit out of it for hypertrophy's sake. And since this came out of a rehab exercise, if you are ever injured and need to like fix climber's elbow, doing the non-shoulder version of this is something you're going to have to learn anyways, so you might as well work on that. Yeah, to that lean there, that cheat gives you just a little bit more of a mechanical advantage, but it's not helping you. If you're ever trying to win an arm wrestling match with a lead pipe, go ahead and cheat by throwing your hips out one direction and lowering your shoulder. If you're trying to hypertrophy your bicep brachialis, or in this case, your delt, don't do that. But if it's at the very, very end of a set, go ahead and low body English on it. It's fun. Now, there's two possible reactions to this. Some might say, what the fuck is he doing? And others might say, this is a push-up. Why is he doing a push-up in this weird way with 2 dip bars and a box? I just needed as much deficit as possible. Like, even with the deficit push-up handles that I got free with a pull-up bar or something, you get too much contact with the ground at not enough depth that it feels like it matters. And so I started doing these super deficit push-ups so that I can just get freakishly low and have a massive stretch on my shoulders and my pecs, and then just enjoy a push-up that more closely mimics doing a dumbbell bench press type movement. The downside of push-ups is lack of stretch on the pecs. Always be using your rest time to set up your next exercises. you're naturally going to move the bars inward if you do this. So you are technically going to be doing a narrow push-up at all times. It's just safer. The more straight under you the bars are, the safer you will be. If you widen them out, you will feel unsafe. Long period of dead air. Stare around the room. You can really see how, like, these mimic a dip more than a conventional push-up does, and you can see how much my traps and my upper back are working to create stability. Whereas in a flat ground push-up, with your arms out a little bit more, you can lower your shoulders and make your neck long and focus more on this being a chest exercise and even get some serratus activation out of it. I feel like it creeps up the body with the narrow dip bars like this. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to see some box assisted dips now. Just for the sake of staying in the tension longer, you want to just take some of the weight off by having your feet resting on the box. And you can really see how I'm breathing in rhythm with this. The belly full of air before that push. And then just fight, 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 fight. And when you get that surge of adrenaline and cortisol and just like a quick change in your emotions, that's when you stop. Like, technically this is already training too far into failure and I shouldn't do this too often, yada, yada, yada. I'm really aware from this workout and knowing I would have to commentate on it that I'm way overdue for a deload week. I need to take it a bit easier. But when I start to fail an exercise, my first instinct is to stay there, enjoy it, examine it, take note of the layers of failure that you go through. When you stop moving upward, when the weight stops pushing, you haven't totally failed yet. You're just arriving at concentric failure. Once you can't, and you can still fight for every individual millimeter and really enjoy it. Feel the muscle recruitment kicking in. Then, stay still for a couple of seconds, enjoy the isometric failure, and then still lower under control, because you haven't arrived at eccentric failure yet. There's, I think, really only been one time in my life where I pushed so hard into failure that the weight started coming down against my control. My arms just powered off, and the weight was in free fall until I could activate other muscles and move. It takes a long time to get there. You can stay in the failing state a lot longer than you think, and it is enriching to do so. I walk out of the room and I stop talking. Mean mugging this whole exercise. I came into this exercise with bad energy, but still energy. I didn't come in tired and defeated and cold. I came in irritated, and it is possible to just let that irritation turn into a good workout. Good time to mention it. I don't think I've ever mentioned it before. Don't breathe into your chest when you're exercising. If you're breathing and your shoulders are rising and falling, you're breathing badly. Breathe into your stomach. Visualize breathing into your back. Fill your body with air. When you're breathing, I know it feels like you are sucking air in. You actually aren't. You are expanding your lungs, which creates a vacuum, and air falls in. Air is falling into you. So make as big a chamber as you can for that air to fall into. And then, when you want to start your exertion, tighten your core and exhale forcefully. And that's how you output power and breathe rhythmically with exercise. And doing a big bunch of setup for, you see me take the legs off one of the dip bars. At that point, that's because they are going to become the feet of the pull-up bar for block 3. This exercise came back into the rotation after my shoulder started bothering me and I had to take the other kinds of flies out. When it had healed somewhat, I started experimenting with, are there any fly variations that don't bother my shoulder? And I came back to this. This is the first cable fly variation that I did before I had my whole Goliath pull-up rig built to try and create a cable fly. I would do this. So just lift the weight to the bar, and then the weight is resting against my butt, and my butt is holding the bar from moving, and then I'm just flying in and out. So you lose the backward stretch, which means this is not a perfectly optimal fly. But I promise you, if you try this, you will notice your chest gets exhausted. Because the upward pull that you are always doing to stop the weight from lowering taxes your chest. And then you just get a good final contraction when you touch your pinkies together and push your shoulders forward a bit and just do that chesty cleavage squeeze. So this is a good fly variation that I can do with my my somewhat injured shoulder, and I can do it with the less equipment that I have here. It's a kettlebell, a rope, and a dip bar. So these had their place for a year or two, and I've made clients do them, and they came back in when they were needed. You can see just immediately there's zero normal face game. I start getting flushed. I'm broadcasting the difficulty. These are really difficult exercises. Especially because you get no chance to relax because you still have to be pulling upward on the eccentric. So as your pecs are trying to stretch and get outward, your shoulders are still holding their weight up the whole time. So these drain you faster than other exercises because you can't relax on the eccentric. Even if you really control your eccentrics, and I always do, that's still when you get to take a breath and not fight as hard. But on those, you don't. You're fighting the whole time. Now one of my least favorite long workouts. I think I've just set up for the overhead press. And I do overhead press because I like to do pull-ups, and I think you should work the equal opposite ranges of motion on things. Having a good overhead press will keep you safer. So I do overhead presses, especially with a barbell, just out of safety's sake, out of obligation, to hopefully enhance the thing that I do like, which is pull-ups. And I think that's a fine way to think about your life. Sometimes you just gotta do chores, you gotta do a thing you don't like because it enhances your enjoyment of the thing that you do like. And you'll notice I do not overhead press very heavy. My shoulder just still doesn't quite like this type of movement, and I want to try and get to 50 seconds of tension, and I still end up failing out, I think, of all three of them. So overhead presses are a tough workout, and technically not great for hypertrophy. Like they're not gonna do much to make your shoulders visually bigger. And then there's so much else going on that's a physiological distraction. Like all the time that I'm doing overhead presses, my mind is on my core and like trying to keep my body just straight from the ground to my hips to my shoulders and not wiggle with it or swing or let my back arch too much. So you don't feel a good isolation either. And the rhythm kind of becomes locking out at the top and taking a breath, and then lower and raise is kind of one movement, which, I don't know, I don't think it matters too much. Maybe you can dig really deep into that if that's the best. I know that locking out at the top of most exercises is a little bit of a lazy cheat. You are technically like letting the tension off and resting on your joints. But it's a hard habit to break, and it's really hard to hang out at the bottom of an overhead press and then still be able to press. It's really easy to touch and go the bottom and very difficult to touch and go the top. Technically, clarify. Oh yeah, this is where I start playing with nunchucks. And I meant to do just like 1 second, and then I mess up a drain pipe, and so I'm like, oh, I gotta get that right. Okay, messed up the drain pipe. And now I'm watching the clock being like, oh, I gotta get this drain pipe correct. There it is. And then back to the doorknob where they live. And then back to OHP. When you get stuck at the bottom, you get stuck at the bottom. It's not the end of the world if you cheat and use some leg drive and stuff, but better to learn to avoid it. Let your target muscle work to its failure, and then move on with your life. And then this is me just trying to like move my shoulder through its gears and get it flowing correctly without being so grindy. The feeling of wanting to crack your knuckles, like the sensation that you get in your hands that makes you then crack your knuckles, and thinking that cracking your knuckles will feel good, is how my shoulder feels a lot of the time, but I know that I do not want to crack my shoulder, especially during an exercise that will feel like a cataclysm and probably lead to something bad happening. So it is improving, it's improving slowly. But it hasn't stopped me from working out. Like when it started to bug me and I wasn't changing anything, it was having knock-on effects where first it was just flies, didn't feel good, and I had to go down and wait, and then I had to take out one type of flies and I had to take out the other type of flies. It was affecting my bench press and my overhead press. It was affecting my squats because I don't have a squat rack. So I have to deadlift, clean, and overhead press a weight to get it on my back to do back squats. My shoulder won't let me do that, then I can't work on my back squats. So I accommodated that by switching to front squats, and yeah, I never missed a day of exercise while I did still continue to adapt and not ignore an encroaching injury. And that is the right way to go about these things. And getting rid of the landmines. Anyone who has investigated my channel or talked to me about fitness stuff ever, you may recognize this, my absolute staple exercise for chest development. And the thing that really made me realize I need to deload and take the intensity back for a while and build up again is last year I was routinely doing these with a 25 and a 10, and at some point, kind of without me noticing, that became a 25 and a 5, and then it became a drop set where I start with the 25 and the 5, and when I fail I take the 5 off and continue. So I do a drop set 3 times on each arm, but it is technically lower than I was doing entire sets for last year. So even though I'm adding muscle, like I'm gaining weight and aesthetically looking better, my strength is down. But the irritated mood has left at this point. I am smiling, and there's a lot of little bits of enjoying the music in this workout too. But the workout took the frustrated energy to a good place, and then by the time these landmine presses and the ground and pounds after are over, or even like during them, I'm staring into space, curling on the floor, exhausted. So, a great workout, physically and emotionally beneficial. And it flew by because I enjoy all these exercises and they're structured in a way that works really well. This time, you put the pull-up bar together, the feet are attached. fighting for every rep every time. As little swing with the body as I can possibly do. You can cheat these. I mentioned it the other time this week that I did these, and I mentioned it in a video I filmed especially about these, meaning specifically about these. You can cheat by rocking back and forth like you're throwing a shot put or a javelin type movement, and you don't want to do that. You want to be awkwardly reaching across your body so you have as much contraction to the center of your chest as possible. And this is where I had a moment of inspiration to change my running schedule for the weekend. So it's going to be a tough weekend of running. I don't need to explain this, but it's going to be a tough weekend of running to just fill more time. Because it's going to be a long weekend and it's going to be lonely. Just fighting. Glowing red. Something I've said before that I haven't had a chance to say on this channel in any other context. I have had people say to me, I want to work out, but I just prefer sitting on the couch eating chips and watching renovation shows. They say, I'm happy you're doing that. And I say, good for you. Then go to town. Like, why are we having this conversation if you know how you feel? I don't feel that way. I'm going to be equally miserable no matter what. So I can enjoy this as much as I can enjoy anything and bang it out and feel good about it. Whereas if I try and just enjoy my time, I will get more bummed out. And I have the luxury of a wide open schedule. So if I procrastinate on my workout, I can just start later. I'm not crunched for time. I'm not crunched for food because getting in all the nutrients to build muscle is just a job unto itself. So I'm in a good place to just drill down and work on this right now. And when life gets different and complicated again, I will hopefully be more ready and able to deal with that. And working out is so habitual for me that if life gets really busy again, I will still always prioritize and make time for this because I hate not doing it. Again, just listening to Wargasm and Electric Callboy, because that's what I listen to once or twice. So therefore, any YouTube mix is like just 100% Wargasm and Electric Callboy now. Maybe one Nine Inch Nails song thrown in if I let it play for hours. And that's me just being vain. Like, yeah, look at my glasses. Love the music of Electric Callboy, and more importantly, they seem nice. And then done, onto the ground pounds, and then the workout is over. So if someone is watching these in numerical order, because I decided part of this project to number them correctly as well, this will be the first time you're seeing these movements. And this is the ground and pound. And I do those landmine crossbody presses to target my upper chest. So I was just thinking, what is the opposite of that? How can I cross the center line of the body in a isolated single arm press? And I came up with this. Even though I did once see Athlete X doing this and call it a ground pound, which is why I took that name. He was doing it from like a UFC training perspective, which is why I guess he called it the ground and pound. For me, this is about like isolating the muscles involved in a dip and just perfecting the dip one arm at a time, and being able to like have your free hand on your serratus to feel it stretch and contract. And I remember while I was doing this thinking about how it's kind of like punching in a dream. Where it's like the resistance to just moving your fist quickly is a weird feeling. Tidying up, that's the shirt that was being the pivot point for the landmines. Shaky, shaky, drinky, drinky. And then when you're hungover, it's drinky, drinky, shaky, shaky. And so, does it constantly? No. This is also why I love working out at home, and I can't imagine working out in a commercial gym. Like, cranking tunes and mouthing along and bobbing your head, T-posing, like enjoying the music in a physical way is something you can't do in a public space because you have headphones on, so does everyone else, and there's music playing overhead. It's unacceptable social behavior. Working out home alone, and the fact that I put shorts on for this week is as much as I'm willing to compromise. Normally I would just be in my sacks. Just hanging from the pull-up bar, trying to make my shoulder feel a bit better. Get my scapula to fucking move. Narrowing in on the workout being over. Also, there's at some point in every workout, I blow my nose, and I would hate to do that in open video. And then I remember this specifically. I think of something to put on my to-do list, and I think I don't have time to put it on the to-do list. So I come back, do the next set, do it again to go write something down, and give myself a chore for the weekend. Body is a reading test like the leaves of grass, or House of Leaves. I recently learned the term for writing that is specifically difficult for the reader to read, and I forget. That's what made me think of it. My body having so much text on it that can be at different angles, depending on my posture.
Dystopian.
You want to keep most of the rotation out of your body when you're doing these, and you want to keep any bobbing out of it. Your hips shouldn't be moving through space. Just to get the fullest possible range of motion, there will be some, because I'm always ending with my fist in front of my opposite knee. And when you're thinking about stretching backwards, you are going to kind of lean up a bit and go with it. Which is another good reason to have your free hand on the muscle, so you can feel that it's getting its maximum stretch and contraction, which I almost made the word distraction. Because you could kind of cheat these and turn them into a rotational exercise, kind of like a wood chopper. You could also, if you don't want to have your free hand on your serratus, you can have it on the ground and do an even more conventional ground and pound type. I guess you could even call it a tabletop press, but I much prefer having my hand on the muscle to work. And you can see all the emotion is gone now. All the frustration and all the exuberant joy just replaced by endorphins and a steady calm. Done, so I just finished by just giving it my all. It's the last rep of the last set. And relinquish. And we're done.